what do you know about mental health? Just like anything. The broad subject.
I know it's an issue and it needs to be helped and people need to have more resources for it.
I know that mental health is an incredibly important thing that's kind of been in a bit of a crisis recently, and I know that while some people are focusing on improving the mental health of both our school and of our, general society, it's really not something that gets focused on enough, and that we need to be doing more to keep people happy.
Well, I know that in society, like the attention that we've been spending on mental health has been increasing over the last few years, but it still doesn't get all of the focus that I think it should. And also we used to think a lot more about our physical or body health, but it's been scientifically proven and stuff that when you have mental health issues, it affects your whole body. So it's really important. Yeah.
Do you think your education has taught you how to handle your emotions or has provided you with healthy coping strategies?
I don't think so. I think that schools should provide more resources and opportunities for students with how common mental health has been and how many students are experiencing this and the stress in their classes. I think schools and health classes should incorporate it more, and teachers should be more welcoming in their classrooms and have a more open learning environment.
No, I would say no. I don't think they teach anything like that. And I think schools need to teach more. Maybe have a class.
Okay.
I don't really think so. I think that kind of our education nowadays is kind of more focused on, just the straight on the books, putting my butt to the books every day of my life. And I think that especially during COVID, the kind of mental health aspect was kind of lost in education because it was such a struggle to just get my butt on the books all the time. And, I think nowadays as we're bouncing back, there's kind of more of a focus on mental health awareness and mental health education. But is it up to what I would consider adequate support? No.
What kind of mental health resources would you want in Seahome?
I guess it's not really in Seahome, but I would think it would be really nice to have mental health days once a month, just to I don't know, help your mental health.
Yeah.
I think we should have the service animals visit more often.
Was there ever a time where you felt like you needed help but didn't have the resources?
I don't know. I would say no. I think the counselor's office is pretty helpful.
Yes, freshman year I had really bad mental health and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it because I didn't think anyone would understand.
What do you think about the current mental health education at Seahome?
I think it's constantly improving. I think when I first started, it wasn't as comprehensive or as accessible to students, but I think because of groups like PCO and Anchor and things like that, there are more mental health resources that are readily available for students and more, educational.
I think we could spend more time focusing on mental health, providing different resources for students and staff if they need help with mental health. I also feel like there should be no stigma attached to any mental health issues.
I think the mental health education is limited, to be quite honest. I think that there are a lot of individual teachers that have done a lot of work of trying how to learn about mental health and how to support students around mental health. But when it comes to actual education, supporting both students and adults, I don't think that those two things have intersected or necessarily have been directly taught or given a ton of resources for that. I think everybody kind of tries to do what they think is best, but we haven't had any necessary training by professionals around mental health.
Well, the formalized mental health education I'm not totally certain about. There's definitely things that they have us do in Anchor classes, which some people do and some people sometimes don't do. And I know that the counselors are always readily available and the intervention specialists, but I'm not sure as a whole if students are well aware of what kind of services are offered.
I don't know if there's much mental health education going on at Seahome. I think students are kind of stuck trying to figure things out on their own. And it's the teachers that bring in mindfulness techniques and practices and help train the students to be less stressful about their lives that's happening.
As a teacher, how do you think schools can improve mental health education?
I think it should be embedded in curriculum. I think the fact that it kind of falls on the extracurriculars like Anchor or students seeking it out is part of the reason, where if there's a lot of stigma about mental health, then there's not going to be kids who seek it out, right? Like if it's something that's part of what we teach, like I can definitely do so in English where I can kind of connect it, but I think in other subjects too it matters.
I feel that schools could continue to provide the support they are providing, but also additional support, like maybe additional counselors specifically for mental health, maybe specifically after, like if we have a big event at school that's, as we all know what we're talking about, which is scary, if they just automatically like have counselors, they're not the counselors are here because they've also went through it, but maybe counselors from the district that can also provide support for students and also for teachers.
I think it really starts educating us as teachers first as to what are some of the best tools and strategies to support students as we're with students all day long, and you know, what are the different places and things that we can do in our classroom to kind of alleviate some of the pieces that maybe don't have to be done all the time in the counseling center, because a lot is placed on our counselors in the building, and I think there's more that we can do as a school community to kind of alleviate and then let them do the things that they've been trained for. But I think it starts with training with us.
That's a hard question because as a teacher myself, I try really hard to be sensitive to different students' needs and be paying attention to what's going on. But I think that's more of a new school approach to education, and some of the people that have been teaching although I've been teaching for a really, really long time. Like in the old days, that wasn't even a thing. You would just kind of come in and teach your chemistry and go out the door. And so I think it's kind of a new concept that we have to be really focusing on the whole person. And we need to just do it. Mental health is real. Yeah.
Well, I think if they're not going to have a specific class for mental health, then teachers need to be trained on mindfulness practices so that we have tools so that we could put them into our lesson, part of our day, a mindfulness part of our instruction, as well as our content instruction. But mindfulness needs to happen.